A chocolate silk pie is really airy and rich. It depends on dark chocolate for its flavor. And the texture comes from making something similar to a mousse, in that we'll fold in some whipped cream into the mixture, and when it refrigerates, it will trap all of that air inside the structure of the pie, making each slice and each bite exceptionally light and delicious. The first thing we need to do is make our pie crust. Right here I have the prepared pie dough from our single pie crust pastry recipe, and we're gonna use this to make our crust. So you'll need this, a floured surface, and just a regular pie pan. We're gonna roll this into a 1/8 of an inch thick circle. Once the pie dough has been rolled to the proper thickness, we need to transfer it to our pie pan. A lot of people will tell you to roll the pie dough up on the rolling pin, which you can do. I prefer to just fold it in quarters. And then place that right inside the pie plate and unfold it. And then using a pair of scissors, I'm going to trim until there's only about 1 inch of overhang. All right, and then you're going to fold the edge under itself and just press it so that it sticks together, making a thicker ring of dough around the perimeter of the pie. Once the edge is pressed, use the thumb of your dominant hand and your pointer finger and thumb of your non-dominant hand to just make a pretty crimp around the edge. And you can just do this by pressing your thumb in between the space that the other 2 fingers makes in the crust, like this. The filling for this chocolate silk pie never goes into the oven, and so we need to bake our crust completely before we fill it with the chocolate filling and let it set. So that means that we're gonna take our crust and we're going to bake it with pie weights for about 20 minutes, remove the pie weights and remove the parchment paper, and bake it for another 10 to 15 minutes until it's baked all the way through and golden brown. I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and I'm going to place a piece of parchment paper inside my pie and use my pie weights to weigh down the parchment paper. This prevents the pastry from puffing as it bakes and creating air pockets and an uneven texture in the bottom of your crust. If you don't have pie weights, you can use dried rice or beans, but once you use them once, you can't cook with them, so just save them to use as pie weights later on. All right, my pie weights are in, and I'm gonna transfer this to my 350 degree oven. All right, my pie crust has been in the oven for 20 minutes, so I'm gonna take it out. And carefully remove the pie weights. And you can see that the crust is still not baked fully through all the way on the bottom. It still has dark doughy spots. So now we're gonna put it back in the oven for another 10 to 15 minutes. Just watch it, and when it's well browned and there aren't any more dark spots like this, you know that the crust is ready to go. My crust is finished, and so now it's time to make the filling. To start, we need to cook the eggs with the sugar. As I mentioned earlier in the video, we never bake this filling, and since eggs are going into the filling, you have to heat them to 165 degrees so that you pasteurize them and make them food safe. So we're gonna do that over a double boiler. I've got my 4 eggs right here, and in this bowl I have 1 1/4 cups of granulated sugar. So just crack your eggs right into the bowl. All right, and now just use a whisk to combine the sugar with the eggs. It won't fully incorporate right now, but over the heat it will. To set up a double boiler, we're just gonna put 1 or 2 inches of water in the bottom of this pot and bring it to boil. And then I'm gonna set this bowl inside the pot. You want to make sure that the bottom of your bowl does not touch the hot water. If it touches the hot water, it'll heat up the bowl too quickly and scramble the eggs. The idea is that steam is the only thing that's coming in contact with the bottom of the bowl. The steam gently warms the bowl and increases the temperature of the eggs to your desired temperature. For us today, that's 165 degrees. So I'm gonna get this water boiling, I'm gonna set this over the double boiler, and I'm gonna heat it until my thermometer reads 165. Now that my eggs are done being heated, we have pulled it off from the double boiler, and I have to my left here 8 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. This was 60% cacao, and I chopped the bar and microwaved it in 30-second intervals at 30% power. stirring in between each interval just to make sure that it melted smoothly without seizing up. So I have a perfectly smooth melted 8 ounces of chocolate right here. And I'm going to just stir this right into my egg mixture. This pie doesn't use cocoa powder to flavor the filling. The filling is completely flavored by this dark chocolate. And so you want to use a good quality dark chocolate. This isn't the time to use semi-sweet chocolate chips. Go for the bar of chocolate that's about 60%. I promise that all of the sugar that we dissolved into these eggs will sweeten this chocolate enough so that this isn't a bitter chocolate pie. It's still pretty sweet. All right, so I've got my chocolate in there in my warm egg mixture, and I'm just gonna whisk until it's all fully homogeneous. And then the next ingredient I'm going to add to this mixture is a ½ teaspoon of instant espresso powder. This isn't to make a coffee and chocolate flavored pie. It doesn't really come through in the flavor as coffee. Instead, the espresso powder just deepens the already rich flavor of dark chocolate. All right, and this mixture is still pretty warm to the touch, and so before we proceed with making the filling, we're gonna set it aside until it comes down to room temperature. This is gonna be mixed into some butter, and you don't want this to be really hot or it will melt the butter instantly. Once this is incorporated, just set it aside to cool down to room temperature. My chocolate and egg mixture has cooled down to room temperature, so we can proceed with making the filling. You'll need 10 tablespoons of unsalted butter that's already at room temperature, and you're just gonna put that in the bowl of a stand mixer. We're gonna cream this butter until it is smooth. All right, my butter is smooth. I'm going to scrape it down the sides of the bowl just to loosen it from the edges. And now what we're going to do is, with the mixer on low, we're going to slowly add in our chocolate mixture and allow it to incorporate until you have used all of the chocolate mixture. We then increase the speed to medium-high, and we're going to beat this mixture for about 5 minutes until it lightens in color and increases in volume. My mixture is done whipping, and so you can just remove it from the mixer. Scrape off your paddle. The last thing we need to add is whipped cream. And so I've already whipped 1 cup of heavy whipping cream with 1 tablespoon of powdered sugar. And I'm going to add half of this to my chocolate mixture and fold it in. And then once I'm done folding that in, I'll add the rest and continue folding until there are no more white streaks in my filling. Then my filling is ready to go into the pie shell. Our filling is complete, and here is our pie crust that we finished baking earlier. I'm going to gently pour my pie filling into the crust, and I'm going to smooth out the surface. The pie is going to set because of butter and chocolate's natural tendency to become firm when they're chilled. And so this pie has to chill for quite a long time, which is why in the recipe it recommends chilling it overnight. You can chill it for 8 hours, but it's honestly easier to just pop it in the fridge and pull it out the next day. So I'm gonna pop this in the fridge so that it becomes nice and firm while still being airy. My pie is finished setting, and so it's now time to decorate it and eat it. Because the pie shell bakes completely before you fill it, it easily can come out of the pie pan and you have your pie right here. I'm gonna transfer this to my serving plate and put some whipped cream on top and a dusting of cocoa powder, and we'll be ready to give it a try. Let's cut into the pie. You can see that the structure of the pie is really airy and mousse-like, which is what makes a chocolate silk pie a chocolate silk pie in the first place. But enough talking about it, let me give it a try. It's the texture of like a set cream. It's really light and really airy and dissolves in your mouth. It's the kind of pie that you could eat dangerously a couple of slices of pretty quickly because it doesn't feel heavy, it feels really light in the mouth. And yet, because it is like a mousse, it has that really rich, robust, dark chocolate flavor. And there's also richness there from the cream, there's richness there from the butter. But the flavor that comes across is a really simple chocolate flavor. all together, it's really velvety in the mouth. The whipped cream on top provides a wonderful addition, and the cocoa powder does as well. In addition to just being visually appealing, the cocoa powder adds just a little bit of a bitter cocoa flavor, which to a sweet pie is really nice. If you've enjoyed the video that you've seen today, then subscribe to the Southern Living YouTube channel, where you're sure to find other food videos like this one that you're bound to enjoy. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. Bye.